Right, so today, our podcast today is all about divorces and how we can kind of help all clients that are going through this vulnerable time in their lives that they actually did not anticipate happening. And certainly thinking, right, how do I start my life again from an emotional point of view, but also from a financial point of view. It's a very, very worrying time. It's something that I've been passionate about since I started the business in 2009, working with lots of local professionals in family law. It's one time that we kind of have to look at spending, what the amount they're going to get, and kind of really genuinely holding that client's hand right through the process. What do you think is something that somebody is thinking is coming, or it's about to happen, or they feel like it may happen, is an important thing for them to start to think about?
I suppose it sort of comes, if they've not had that conversation with the significant other, it's sort of starting to engage really how they want that to look, and it would be going down the route, I think, of legal advice, I think, and then they would, 9 times out of 10, they'd be pointed in our direction to help them sort of work out how the finances might look from a mortgage point of view.
Yeah, I mean, recently in the law world, they've brought in that they have to have mortgage capacity reports, so that they understand what their mortgage capacity is and whether they can take on the matrimonial home or whether they need to buy somewhere else. What do you think in this current world of interest rates being higher is really important, Lindsay, to people to consider?
Yeah, I think it's basically being aware of finances. I mean, sometimes it's not a joint work out every month and looking at the finances. Maybe it's one of the partners that actually looks after the finances.
Tends to be the case, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then of course that's what's so scary about things. It's kind of, my goodness, how much is Sky, how much is this, how much is that. So it's actually looking at sort of, what is your budget, and actually being able to go through that with somebody, and then obviously factoring in, how much the mortgage is going to cost, and is it affordable?
Yeah. It's surprising how many we do see, and it's how much do you earn, and they're not 100% certain about how much they earn, but equally they don't know where to go to find out how much benefits they might be able to get, and knowing that lenders will take that into account as income. And in terms of maintenance payments, that even if they're not court ordered, that we can again take them into account and how lenders look at that. I think sometimes people don't realise that you can take a mortgage up to a much longer period of time, so it brings the affordability up and the mortgage payments down, which is important, isn't it, when you're actually taking on a mortgage in your own right as well. So there's lots of people, I think, that we see that just think it's impossible to take on the matrimonial home and then find out they can, which I find that the lovely part of dealing with clients that are in that vulnerable state is how much you take a weight off their shoulders when they walk out that room and think, actually, things aren't quite as bad as they seem. I can build on this. I can do something with it, can't I? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's just giving somebody the knowledge, isn't it? So that they there's generally more than one solution. To all of this, like you say, extending the mortgage term will bring the payments down. Sure, you pay a bit more interest, on it, but then that's not cast in stone, and later down the line you could reduce the term again. So, but it's actually arming somebody with that, empowering somebody with that knowledge, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think, when you are together as a couple, you are thinking ahead forward in the future. When you're separated, I think you've got to think of the right there and then. Do you know what I mean? And think, what's the solution right now that enables me to have a home and a roof over my head, whether you've got children or not, and what that looks like. Because I think once people do have their group of professionals to support them, as in their solicitors, their financial advisors, mortgage advisors like ourselves, and they can trust all of us, you can see that they realise that everybody's got their back and can have some sort of clarity on the end of it all happening and moving forward.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the times that you see clients that 2 years later they found somebody else planning to get married again or whatever, it's lovely part of our job, isn't it, to see that, really, to be honest.
Yeah, but like you say, just in this moment, it's actually helping that person with what they need.
Right then.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it is really important to choose the right people for you, to make sure that you feel, I say this even to all clients, that you need to feel like you're able to pick up the phone and have a genuine conversation with that professional, that you can open up and say things that you want to say that you possibly won't even say to your family members or even your friends. Just to help you get through that process to get to the end result, really.
Yeah, it's that trust element, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like you said, getting on top of your finances, if you are not used to dealing with them all, is, I always try and say to clients, treat it as a challenge. Don't be worried about it. Each step, each time you think, right, that bill, I need to sort that out in my name, I need to ring up. And even if you have to take a day off holiday to be able to sort all these things out, at the end of that day, wow, you feel a different person, which you then put that thing to bed. And it's like a ladder, and you take it up every step with each thing that you have to sort out, because the amount of paperwork is quite overwhelming when you see.
Well, with that, not to mention that, and then you've got this really emotional thing going on in the background, but you've got to sort these finances out. Your mind's totally distracted, and seeing that stack of paperwork is going to be incredibly daunting. It's just a case of tackling it head on, from my sort of opinion, and you have got lots of people around you who do want to support you from your legal side, and particularly us. We actively encourage clients to ring us if they need to go through anything. If they're uncertain, always ring us and have a chat with us, and it doesn't change whether it's a divorce, a remortgage, a purchase, whatever. We always sort of say that, don't we?
Very personable. I think gone are the day where professionals are seen as non-approachable or
too rigid.
Yes, that's something that we absolutely use, that we're not like that at all, so that people can have normal conversations with us as much as possible to get them where they need to be, because they don't need to, at that point in time they'll be scared of what they can say, what they aren't allowed to say, what they do say.
It's overwhelming, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's massively important to do that. And equally, when people can't take the matrimonial home on, and they are moving to a different area, or the kids are moving to a different school, again, just being able to say, yes, you can achieve that mortgage and you can pay for that mortgage is a really good place, I think, for us all to say to somebody that you can, just because it must be an extremely worrying time at that point in time. And again, like I say, we've said about professionals, haven't we? And it is important to have the right people around you. Certainly with conveyancing as well, getting you through that process, don't you? Right to the very end, because you might have a sale to deal with, which again, emotionally there, because you've done lots of things in that house and created a home and a life, and then that's when it finishes and you move your separate ways, isn't it, really?
And I mean, sometimes, people, I know, recently there's clients of mine who they haven't got a clue what's going on at the legal stage, and what's happening, and we can really help with that because it's just phone calls and we can find out, and we've got a great team, haven't we, of administrators who will chase things through and kind of take some of the sting out of it all, or bring some clarity to the situation for people, which is worth its weight in gold, I think, to people sometimes. Yeah,
definitely. I know myself, as I've got older, I forget things very, very easily. If I've got lots of things on. So imagine, having the emotion of a breakup, and then having to keep your job and your work and your kids maybe wanting stuff, and then all of this on top of it.
This all doesn't stop. This wheel doesn't stop.
How you can remember everything that you are told and spoken to in one meeting or at that time is really, really quite difficult. So I think it's important that that every professional that's helping them kind of understands that vulnerability. And that even if you have to repeat it 5 times, it's nothing wrong with doing that at all.
No.
Because you sometimes do need that kind of support, really, and that memory, really, to be honest. So I mean, and again, like looking at mortgages and interest rates, that's something that we kind of support each client through, no matter if they're going through a divorce. But again, with the interest rates being higher at the moment, and the idea of crikey them possibly going down, which would be amazing, is what does client do right now? Because obviously, you know, if they're needed to sort their interest rate out now, you know, do they go fixed, do they go tracker? And I always say it's down to each individual's personal choice, and what their risk, what they feel like they can risk. But it is a difficult time at the moment, knowing what's right. What do you come across that with your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, and there's some clients who sort of they've gone through or going through a divorce, and they want somehow to have some stability. So, you know, obviously you may be looking at a fixed rate, maybe a longer term fixed rate, to say, right, okay, might be paying a little bit more perhaps in the long, you know, for the next 5 years if rates do come down. But then again, I'm not looking over my shoulder, and I know exactly that I can afford this because I've been through my budget and it's there, and that's so, and I can kind of relook at this in 5 years' time, maybe. You know.
And you've also got people where they're mid a really good rate, you know, they're halfway through a fixed rate. You know, and I don't think clients understand that as long as circumstances fit and criteria fits with that lender, somebody can take that with them. So one person may lose out, but the other person may gain from it, because one person can't obviously take that mortgage on because of circumstances, but the other person can take it and can port it to another property if they needed to. So it's just having somebody looking through this whole mush of information.
And looking at the whole, the whole situation, really, isn't it? And actually know, because we know what can be done. And you know, the client or the person doesn't know that, and it's for us to give them that information, isn't it, really? And you're kind of segmenting each thing out so that they understand it when they walk out of the door. And yes, we maybe have to repeat it, but that's absolutely fine. That's our job, isn't it? Absolutely.
Before they make that decision and what they do. And just of making it. And again, it's almost, it is like it's a move anyway, isn't it? Even if there isn't a purchase involved and they are taking over the property, it's almost things are moving and changing, aren't they?
Of course they are.
Because the finances are changing and everything. But my biggest tip really is just keeping an eye on your bank statements, isn't it? And making sure that you're not going overdrawn too much every month, or if you're saving money but then you're going overdrawn, don't do it. You know, there's different things like that it's just making it clear. And lenders are a lot more, I think lenders are a lot more understanding now that in these certain situations, if they've had a little blip because of the life story of what they're going through, they're not as bothered about it.
There's a reason for it, isn't there? That's it.
Exactly.
It's not just something that's happening continually all the time for no reason whatsoever.
There's a story.
There's a story.
Exactly. So I really hope that that's kind of helped you understand that what we do as brokers here to help people in various different situations. And again, if you're in that situation, or you think you come into that kind of time in your life and you're very worried and scared, please get in touch with us. Go to the website www.firstmortgageservices.co.uk or give the office a ring, and the details are all on the website there. Thank you.